And I want to argue today that it's time for the state and the city to double down on that bet. It's time for the city, the state, the country to invest in more schools like Gutman to create more opportunity for students like all of you. We spend billions of dollars on a country on things that don't work, that don't make a difference, that don't matter, instead of investing those dollars in things that we know work, like communities like Gutman. Yeah, maybe it's a little more expensive to put in place student supports, but at the end of the day, it's a bargain when you think about the cost per graduate. We need more places like Gutman, and we need to invest in places like Gutman, including investing in that building that I know you all want. Now look, all choices in society come down to choices amongst scarce resources. How will we allocate those scarce resources? And sadly, we live at a time when too often public resources are only scarce for those who need help, not scarce for those who have everything and are greedy for more. Over the past few decades, we've had politicians try to convince us that government can't accomplish anything important. They've tried to tell us that evidence doesn't matter, that poor folks and immigrants aren't deserving of investment and assistance. And now we have folks in DC that each day manipulate the truth for personal and political gain. We have folks in DC who have as their animating principle, their driving principle, greed, concentrating as much wealth as possible in the hands of a few families. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose a different future. You represent a different future. You represent the case that investment in public higher education is good for the city, for the state, and for the country. And now, the task for you is to take this gift that you've been given and lead. I want to ask you to make a different country for future generations. I want to ask you to vote for candidates that recognize that we as a nation are stronger when the American dream is reachable with effort by everyone. I want to ask you to call out politicians when they choose to make policies based on false ideologies rather than on evidence. I want to ask you to tell your story, your Gutman story, your college story, your first-generation story, your immigrant story. I want to ask you to tell your story to your city council member, to your state legislator, to Governor Cuomo, to Mayor de Blasio, to members of Congress. You need to tell them why investing in places like Gutman makes a difference, why student supports make a difference in students' ability to succeed in college. Every one of you needs, like Hector and Melise and Ernest, to figure out what is the issue in society that you want to focus on, where you want to make a difference. This month, we mark 50 years since the assassination of Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy was a great leader who reached out to people of every community and called on them to work side by side to help this nation live up to its ideals. He once said, "Every time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." Although you may find today's politics discouraging, I want to ask you to be the hope, to be those ripples of change, to see and lift up those ripples of change, to lift up the ripples of change when people reject the idea of a travel ban directed at people of Muslim faith. I want you to see the ripples of hope when, whether it's NFL players or the Black Lives Matter movement stands up to say, yes, black and brown lives matter. I want you to see the ripples of hope when we fight to protect the rights of dreamers and to make sure that dreamers have the opportunity to pursue their education. I want you to see the ripples of hope in the Me Too movement and the idea that we need to have workplaces and campuses free from harassment. To see the ripples of hope in young people all across the country standing up against gun violence. You're the hope. You have the opportunity to be the hope for others, for our city, for our state, for our country. You make me optimistic, and I know that Gutman has given you the tools that you need to begin making those ripples that will become that mighty current, that unstoppable force that will open doors of opportunity for all. Your family, your community, your nation need you. Celebrate today, but also look forward to the difference you can make on behalf of others. Thank you so much for the opportunity to join me.